All right, so I feel like since you're on Twitter a lot, you've probably heard of the wheels or doors debate.
I've heard of the wheels and doors debate, yes.
What do you think there are more of in the world, wheels or doors?
Absolutely wheels.
I feel like doors.
No.
Okay, but what are we counting?
Well, that's a great question. But if you go with wheels, you obviously have tires but think about it. Chairs have wheels. Office chairs have wheels. Bike wheels. Wheels are everywhere, man.
But if we're counting that for wheels, what are we counting for doors? Like cabinet doors? Well,
that's a valid point too. I never considered.
Here's what I look at. So the whole debate is about cars, car wheels. The whole thing is cars. The main point is car wheels. But there's car doors. Those kind of cancel out. I mean, besides like trucks, those have like 8 wheels, like 2 car doors. But I feel like it's still doors because there's so many cabinet doors. There's so many just normal doors.
If you're limiting it to just car wheels, then I would agree with you. Because most cars have 4 doors, 4 wheels. But then you have doors in your house. You have doors in office buildings. You have doors literally everywhere.
It's hard to say because what you can classify as a wheel is, I don't know, because if it is a circular thing, like is a ball, I guess, or like, I guess a wheel, like, you know what I mean?
By the way, you didn't tell me I was going to have to think on this podcast. You didn't tell me you were going to hit me with hard-hitting questions like this.
Well, that's what a podcast is.
No, a podcast is me spewing out useless sports knowledge.
Well, we'll get into that. Welcome to the Old School and New School podcast where we talk about most things sports.
That's all I know.
And we're just going to get started off with what is going on with the NFL. All this trade madness. Carson Wentz getting traded to the Commanders after 1 year of being on the Colts. Russell Wilson, Khalil Mack, Amari Cooper. There's probably others that just no one really cares about, but
it's that time of year, right before the draft.
This is probably this is the first year I've really been invested into the NFL. Does this usually happen? Is it usually this crazy?
Right before the draft, yes. The crazy part is what we're seeing with quarterbacks over the last week or so with, as you said, Carson Wentz, Russell Wilson. We've got Deshaun Watson coming back and going somewhere.
Oh, he's coming back?
Allegedly he's coming back this year.
So it's not official he's coming back. He hasn't, there's no announcement that he's coming back.
As of right now, he's coming back. They're looking to make a trade with another team, so...
Okay, so where do you think Deshaun Watson will go?
Where do I think he'll go, or where do I think he should go?
Just both.
Okay, well...
Start with where you think he should go. And
there's one of 2 places, and it's 2 teams in the same division. He should either go to Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Big Ben's gone.
Yes. I agree.
With that defense... With the weapons that they have on the outside, with that running game, he would step right in and probably make them the favorite in that division. I don't know where they stand on the salary cap, so I don't know if they could fit him in there. I assume with Big Ben leaving and all that money going away, that they could do that. The team I really think he should go to is the Cleveland Browns.
You think? I agree. Baker Mayfield is not good, but you think they will really take... I think they would take Deshaun Watson over Baker Mayfield, but I don't know, because they could really just trade Baker to the Texans.
That's exactly right.
And Deshaun Watson to the Browns.
And you're being too kind with Baker. Let's call it what it is. Baker Mayfield is hot garbage.
I think he is terrible.
Baker Mayfield has been hot garbage since the day he was drafted number 1. We have a lot of Browns fans, obviously.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
They try to back him up, but how can you back up somebody that bad? The whole excuse right now is his arm is pretty much literally falling off.
Look, that team last year had a real shot. to make a run in the playoffs to the Super Bowl. Defense was good. They have a top 3 running game.
Wide receivers
when Odell was there, they had the receivers on the outside. They had tight end. Their offensive line is
really
good.
Really good.
Baker held that team back. Baker's held that team back from day one, and he cost them a shot last year. And I'm tired of hearing people say, run it back with Baker one more time. Because what you said, it was his arm last year. There's always an excuse for Baker.
Well, because that's what... Here's what I see into the similarity into fan bases. The Giants... I honestly don't know if Giants fans like Daniel Jones or hate Daniel Jones, but what I've seen and what I've heard is that they're like backing him up, which... No, I hate Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is my most hated NFL player this year.
Well, let's get to Daniel Jones in a minute because I think that leads to one of your other quarterback questions of what may happen in New York. But let's finish with
Deshaun Watson.
With Baker.
Oh, Baker? Okay.
Baker. See, you got me on a tangent now with Baker. If the Browns do not explore a trade for Deshaun Watson immediately, now that they have Amari Cooper, with the rest of that team they have, it's a horrible mistake. Again, you've got Baltimore in that division. Baltimore's always going to be good. You've got Cincinnati with old Joey Burrow. They're going to be good. If you let Deshaun go to Pittsburgh, you're a 4th place team in that division day one. If you're the Cleveland Browns.
I agree. I think that the best division might be the AFC North because they are about to be, if the Steelers get a good quarterback, a solid quarterback, they are going to be probably the best team in that division.
That's right. So make a run at Deshaun, and you're automatically a contender. Trade Baker, and I don't care.
Okay,
2 first rounders to Houston. I don't know what it would take, but the Baker experiment's over. Move on. You've got a quarterback staring you in the eyes that is still young. I don't even know what Deshaun is. 25?
I could not.
26?
I have no clue. I thought he was old.
No.
I didn't think he was old, like in his 30s, but I thought he was like older 20s. Something like that.
No.
Maybe. Is he mid 20s?
I'd say he's mid-20s. I think he's been in the league 3 or 4 years.
But on the topic...
More than that.
On the topic of the Browns... What do you think the Amari Cooper trade was good? Because what was it? A 5th round pick?
I think it's
a 6th round pick for Amari Cooper in like a later 6th round pick?
Yeah, they basically traded Amari Cooper for a 5th round pick because it was a salary dump from the Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Amari's making $20 million this year, and for a number 1 receiver, which he still is a number 1 receiver, I think it's a great trade for the Browns.
And also the Browns need that offensive weapon. Jarvis Landry... he can do stuff, but last year he did not do that well, and I think that was also because of Baker. But I mean,
Jarvis is looking to get out of Cleveland.
I can see that
they're letting him explore a trade. I don't think Jarvis will be there on opening day, but you still have Donovan Peoples-Jones on the outside,
and that's it. I mean, you lost Odell.
And now you have Amari.
I mean, yeah.
It doesn't really matter who you have there because they don't have a quarterback that can get them the ball.
Yeah.
So, back to Deshaun. Finish this off. I think he should go to Cleveland or Pittsburgh. I think he will end up, as crazy as it sounds, in Carolina. From everything you hear, Carolina is going to make a great trade offer to Houston to get Deshaun because their owner has a boatload of money and they want to win, and so they're going to try and make that trade. Now, I think Deshaun has a no trade clause and he can pick where he wants to go. If I'm Deshaun Watson, do I want to go to Carolina?
Nah, I
mean, maybe not.
Their offense, he would have a lot of weapons. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. He would have Christian McCaffrey as a receiving back.
If Christian
McCaffrey plays, yeah.
But I don't see any other options for Deshaun because last year it was Miami. I think they're set on Tua now.
Well, I mean, as a Dolphins fan, I'm torn on Tua. Sometimes I like him. Sometimes I'm like, I mean, against the Titans, that's where I drew the line. I was just like, you can't. I don't know what to feel about him. I have so many mixed feelings.
I don't disagree with you. Deshaun versus Tua, Deshaun all day.
Yes.
But I think right now Miami's set on giving Tua another year.
He played fine this year. There was just some points in the year that he was just not the best. But not what we wanted.
Other places you hear for Deshaun, Tampa Bay. Tom Brady's coming back.
Just an hour ago announced that he's unretired now.
Yep, Tom Brady's coming back, so Tampa's off the board. I've heard Minnesota. They just signed Kirk Cousins to a $30-40 million deal for next year. Why, I don't know. That's probably another conversation for another day.
But now, the Seahawks need a quarterback. Who do they... Drew Lock, really? You're not going to stick with Drew Lock.
Seattle's going to tear it down. So I don't think they're going to invest in a quarterback to come there.
I think it's insane how they went from a very good franchise to a rebuild mode in 1 year. I think that's crazy.
Agree, but the division they're in is a tough division. I think Pete Carroll's only got a year or two left before he retires. And he looks 40, but I think he's in his 70s. Seattle's in a spot. So Minnesota, Tampa are off the board. I keep hearing the Saints, but they're in cap hell. They're like $25 million over the cap.
Yeah.
That's not realistic. And if you're Deshaun, you're not going to have any help there.
Yeah. I mean, sure, Michael Thomas, but I don't know the last time Michael Thomas has played in an NFL game. And I've heard that this could not be true, but I have heard that Michael Thomas does not want to stay with the Saints.
I believe that, especially now that they don't have a quarterback.
And they lost. Sean Payton isn't the head coach.
Sean Payton's gone. That's right. So I don't think there's a lot of landing spots for Deshaun. So I think he's going to end up in Carolina.
As a Dolphins fan, I would want him, but I think we're sticking with Tua. I think that's a smart move. I think we give him a few more years. Maybe this year we could see how well he does. But where I think he's going, I feel like he will go to the Steelers.
I could absolutely see that.
Now, let's talk about another quarterback who I feel like has went under the radar. I mean, he was a backup for Josh Allen. It's Mitch Trubisky. I think there are a lot of teams that could use a quarterback like Mitch Trubisky. Because here's the thing. Was he that bad? He was bad at Chicago. But do we think it was coaching or do we think it was him?
I think it was Mitchell Trubisky.
Do you really?
Yes. He was another one that got drafted. What was he?
He got drafted over... Pick? Didn't he get... There was a quarterback that got drafted over Patrick Mahomes, and I think that was him.
I think he was a top 10 pick. I think he was like 7th or 8th pick in the draft, and the Bears moved up to get him, I believe. It was a horrible pick. He had started 1 year at North Carolina. He put up great numbers there, but complete reach on old Mitchell. And I think he's a serviceable quarterback, but I don't think he's an NFL starter at this point.
But would you start him over, I'm going to name off a few quarterbacks, Drew Lock?
Well, absolutely.
Yes. So that's what I'm saying. I think the Seahawks could maybe just kind of pick him up, see how he does.
Apparently the Giants want to trade for Mitchell Trubisky and start him ahead of Daniel Jones. We don't know. We don't know how good Mitch Trubisky is or not because we haven't seen him. I mean, that much. I guess my perspective is if you're an NFL team that is considering Mitchell Trubisky as your starting quarterback, you have a lot of problems.
That's how I feel. I mean, Joe Judge was terrible. You ran a QB sneak on, 3rd and 9? I mean, but anyway, besides
Trubisky or Wentz?
Wentz.
Okay.
I would take Carson Wentz over Mitchell Trubisky any day. I mean, Carson Wentz, of course, wasn't that... He was good on the Eagles in, 2017, but then he was bad the next year, and he was fine on the Colts until the end of the year, which he dropped. He lost it.
I think that was a great trade that Washington made.
Oh, I agree. Because, I mean, Taylor Heineke, cool, what was he? They called him, like, the comeback kid or whatever. But, like, he's not that good. And you were going to go with Ryan Fitzpatrick over Taylor Heineke, but then, of course, Ryan Fitzpatrick gets hurt.
Fitzmagic is done. He's old.
He's very old. I mean, he played for what? Pretty much all 32 NFL teams. Something stupid.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
But no, I think Washington made a great trade for Runs. What'd they give up? A second and a third?
I have no clue. I do not know.
But again, they were a team that was in search of a quarterback, and Tyler Heineke was, until they got Wentz, their starting quarterback, which is not a good place to be in. So, great trade for Washington. Only thing I dislike about that trade is they took on his full contract. I don't understand why they took on his full contract.
Didn't either way, either how he plays, he gets $20 million, right? That's how it works.
Well, no. So they could have negotiated with Indianapolis to have Indianapolis take on some of that contract money. Because look, Indianapolis was desperate to get rid of him, right?
Yeah.
So Washington could have waited until they released him, which they likely were going to.
That's what they were going to do,
right? And so then you can pick him up at a lower rate, lower contract, or they could have said, we'll give you 2 second round picks, but you take on whatever $10 million of the money. Pick a number. Instead, they took on the full $28 million or whatever his contract number is. So that's the only thing I disagree about with that contract. But if you look at Carson Wentz's numbers, I think last year he had like 27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions.
His interceptions were brutal, though. They were terrible.
They were brutal, and the last week against Jacksonville was
disgustingly bad. Boy, I think he had like 3 interceptions.
Yeah, he cost them that game.
Yeah.
But if you look at the whole body of work, is he a top 10 quarterback? No.
He's not even close.
Is he a serviceable starting quarterback? Yes. Is he better than Daniel Jones?
No. I don't think so.
Mitch Trubisky? Yes. Who's the dude from Carolina?
Sam Darnold.
Sam Donaldson? He's better. He's a top 20 quarterback.
And I did not mean to say that Daniel Jones was better than Carson Wentz. I don't know if you heard that.
Too late. It's already on record.
No. Anyway. Russell Wilson. I saw an interview that said he was staying in Seattle, and he's just all of a sudden in Denver now. Why? I mean, he pretty much fooled the entire Seattle fan base that he was staying, and then he leaves.
He didn't want to be there.
Well, I know. Everyone knows he didn't want to be there, but he acted like he wanted to. He acted like he was staying, but then he leaves.
He's trying not to cause waves.
I guess. And
do you like the trade?
Do I like the trade? I think it's a good trade. You traded Noah Fant, Shelby Harris. I mean, those are 2 actually pretty good players. And then Drew Lock. Not that good. And then a lot. I think it was 2 second rounds?
2 firsts.
It was 2 firsts? I thought it was 2 second.
I think it's 2 firsts, maybe 2 seconds as well. But I know it was 2 firsts.
Oh, wow. And it was like Russell Wilson for like a 5th round pick. And a 5th round pick.
Yeah, it's a lot to give up.
It's a lot to give up, but will it be worth it? Yeah, he's going to be better than Teddy Bridgewater.
They had to do it. Look at that division. Kansas City, Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
They're not going away.
No. He's on what? $100 million contract
Justin
for 10
Herbert.
years.
I'm going to call him San Diego. This is the old school. It'll never be LA. It's always San Diego. The Chargers. It's the difference between... it's San Diego.
Well, I mean, there are 2 others.
Do you remember the days when Dan Fouts was chucking the rock for San Diego?
No. Was I even born?
Well, I'm just saying. San Diego. So, you got Justin Herbert with San Diego. Fine, the Chargers. And then you've got the Raiders, who I think are going to fall off.
I think Derek here. Why do you think the Raiders will fall off? Why do you think? What's your reason?
I just think that team's got a lot of turmoil. I think they overachieved last year.
But you have to give them credit.
I think they're the fourth best team in that division now.
But I feel like you have to give them credit. I mean, they had so many bad things happen to them, and they still made it to the playoffs somehow.
Derek Carr.
I
like Derek Carr.
I like Derek Carr too.
Everyone rips on Derek Carr.
I don't know why. I think he's very underrated.
I do too. No, I don't think they're going to be a bad team next year, but right now they're the fourth best team in the division.
I know I said the AFC North is going to be probably the hardest division in football if they get Deshaun Watson, but I do think most likely, guaranteed, that, what are they, AFC West, right? It's AFC West.
Yep.
I think that will be the best team, at least in the AFC.
What about the NFC West?
The NFC West?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the 49ers, which, will they stick with Trey Lance, or will they stick with Jimmy G?
No, they're going to trade Jimmy G.
So they're going all in with Trey Lance?
Yep, sounds like it.
Well, I mean, it's a gamble, but you, took your, what was it, third pick?
Carson Wentz or Jimmy G?
Wait.
Oh.
Ooh, that's hard. They're both
tough question.
Solid quarterbacks. But I'm going to go with Jimmy G because he was not good against the Rams. He was terrible against the Rams, I guess you could say. But
it's one game.
But looking at his track record, he took them to a Super Bowl. He made the playoffs again. I'm not saying he's a top 10 quarterback, but Carson Wentz and him are kind of in line, but I do think Jimmy G, seeing what he has done for the 49ers, I think he's better.
Jimmy G or Baker Mayfield?
Jimmy G. I feel like that's very easy. I would take Carson Wentz over Jimmy G.
You mean Baker Mayfield?
I mean Baker Mayfield, yeah.
I don't know about that one. That's a tough one.
You could say it was 1 year. I mean, there's some NFL players who did not do good for an entire year, I guess. But, he hasn't been that good. He's been mediocre for all the years he's been at Cleveland, besides really last year when they made the playoffs. But then they lost to the Chiefs. And, they did almost beat the Chiefs at the beginning of the year. Week 1.
Do you know why they didn't?
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield.
He actually threw the game away.
Do you know why they didn't win in the playoffs?
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield. See a trend here?
He is the worst part of that team.
Right.
And it's the most important part of the team. Besides, defense is really, you need a good defense, but you also need a very solid quarterback, and he is not that solid quarterback. You need someone consistent, and he is very inconsistent.
Agree. He does great commercials, though.
Oh, yeah, he's very good at those.
If only he threw the ball as well as he made commercials.
As well good as his acting skills, amazing. He would be insane at football.
Oh, he's top 5 quarterback in the league in acting skills.
Definitely. All right, that's going to be it for this episode of Old School, New School.
You're just going to cut it off like that?
Yeah. What? Do you have something else you want to finish it with? Oh, the Khalil Mack. We could talk about the Khalil.
No, we were talking quarterbacks. That was just an abrupt cutoff there.
All right. Well, then, do you want to finish?
We got to learn transitions and.
Well,
good intros and.
This was the first episode.
This was the first episode, first of many. Oh, by the way, speaking of that, the NCAA tournament brackets just dropped 2 hours ago, so we're probably gonna have to do an emergency podcast
right now.
Here in a couple days before they start playing, because then we'll have to break down the brackets, and I want it on record. I want your picks on record so that you can not dispute.
That's going to be an hour-long podcast.
No. We're not going to dissect every game.
Okay.
We're just going to...
what we're going to run through?
We'll run through the Elite Eight, Final Four, And then who you have winning it all?
All right. So, I mean, again, it's going to be it for this episode of the podcast.
And it wasn't bad for our first one.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know. We'll have to listen to it again and see.
What message do you have for the listeners? What inspirational... Every episode, we're going to finish it off with an inspirational message. What do you have to say?
I guess my inspiration is old school greater than new school.
That is not true.
And we're probably going to learn that in future podcasts as you hit me with hot takes like LeBron's the greatest basketball player of all time. And then I'm going to have to ground you to your room and make you do research papers on Michael Jeffrey Jordan so you can like actually learn something.
How do you know his middle name?
Because he's the greatest basketball player of all time.
What? You just know. Do you know Dan Marino's middle name?
Speechless.
Do you know Dan Marino's middle name?
The man. Boom.
No. No.
We should have ended this podcast 5 minutes ago because now I'm making you look ridiculous. All right. What is your inspiration for our listeners?
If anyone disagrees, it's not really inspirational, but if anyone disagrees that Tom Brady is not the greatest quarterback of all time, you can just leave. Just get out.
I would agree with that.
There are still some people trying to say that Tom Brady is not the greatest quarterback.
There are contrarians that like to argue. So, anyway, lots going on in the sports world right now. We'll have plenty of topics. We got, again, we'll talk about our brackets here the next podcast.
I mean, if you wanted to right now, we could after this one, we could just record another one. There's so much to dissect of the sports universe.
Well, let's not talk about the inner workings of our podcast schedule with our audience. We'll just hit them with new episodes and they'll be wowed.
We might have a schedule. Sometimes. Maybe.
We'll see how this goes. All right. Good first podcast. Until the next one.
We'll see you then.